Daith da, Ewi Nakan. Welcome to podcast number 109. So, me week began with St. Denis and has ended with St. Denis, but two completely different places. Last Saturday, we had a funeral, a graveside service at St. Denis Cemetery out in the Clay Country. And we were some lucky, the weather was handsome. It really was. And there was a fantastic crowd there, very touching service. And I say all was well. We did have quite a few graveside services back when we was going through COVID. And I would say 99% of them, we were so lucky the weather was dry and sunny. And they can be some of the nicest services. Whereas if it's pouring down with rain and windy, tin quite as pleasant, put it that way. Amongst funerals we've had this week are funerals for dear June. June I've known all my life. Yvonne, who we brought back home to Cornwall for her service. And also Jimmy. Now Jimmy was 100 years old. And what a fantastic achievement to get that age. But believe it or not, we have got a funeral on Monday for someone who's even older. On Wednesday afternoon, you may have seen, we had the funeral for dear Mike. Mike, who I've known forever as well. He was the town mayor twice, I think. He was our gravedigger years ago. And we had the service at our chapel and the wake afterwards in our function room. And then I thought it was lovely because he was laid to rest in Eglosell Cemetery. And Ken Miller spoke to me about this before the funeral. And Ken said it was quite fitting, really, because along with Mike and Ken, there was John Hughes, Pan Gaiman, and me father Ron. The five of them worked together to design the cemetery where Mike is laying. And then yesterday, we were out St. Mirren again for a lady who we'd brought back into our care from up country, up in England. And then today, we went to a church that I'd never been to before. 41 years as an undertaker, and I'd never been to this church. And that was St. Denis, or St. Denise, I think somebody pronounced it, Church at Otterham. So there's the St. Denis, the beginning of my week, the end of the week. Now, I've seen mention, somebody did say it today, and somebody did mention it before. I had a quick look, and it may be that the church was named after the patron saint of Paris, a French saint. But I got to look into that a bit deeper. It's got a fantastic history, and it's a lovely little church. You go off the main road, and then you go down a little Cornish country lane, and you come to a dead end. And there it is. And I did put some photos on our RJ Bray Facebook page if you want to have a look. There was some connection, somebody said to me as well, with a cousin of William the Conqueror to do with the church. But I might speak to the locals up there again just to get it all, because I don't want to, get it wrong. But it's got a good history. But I did have a couple of people, a lovely story they told me. I think the chap was called Martin Hancock, and he used to be there at the church. Now, the bell tower have got 3 bells, and I was told today that Martin used to ring all 3 at the same time. One with his left hand, one with his right hand, and the third one with his foot, which I think is brilliant. I love to have seen that. That was absolutely fantastic. But we were so lucky today. I mean, we was driving up through the Allen Valley, and we've had so much rain. The road was streaming, leaking with all the water that had been draining down from the fields. But then when we got the other side of the Allen Valley, going up through Camelford, up to the church there at Otterham, 'twas brilliant. The sun was shining. 'Twas a fantastic day. And we squeezed everyone in. 'Tin the biggest of churches, but you couldn't have got many more people in. And 'twas a lovely occasion. So that's another church I've been to. So I ain't going to speak much more today because I got a longer interview now with my next interviewee, which is Chris Parkyn. Now, Chris, he must be one of the youngest ones I've ever interviewed. He's I think he's 62. But 'tis lovely to hear him talk because there's a connection. Well, I'm jumping the gun a bit because that'll be next week's episode. Connection with Orky's garage, and he worked with me father. But that's for next week. So that's a little exclusive for you there. But 'tis lovely because Chris was brought up out Rumford way. So I don't think I've spoke to anybody yet from Rumford area. So 'tis lovely to get that little area included in the podcast. So I'll go over to Chris now, and then I'll speak to you directly when we round off and have me Cornish word and me Cornish dialect for the week. So here it is. Get on, Chris. How be knacking?
Mitten da, Dev.
Mitten da. Thank you for joining me this morning. Where shall I start to? At the beginning?
We'll start at the beginning.
Yeah. Where was he born to then?
I was born in Bodmin, Badinal Cottage.
Right.
Badinal Cottages. Father was a bit of a farm labourer and such like.
Yeah.
So yeah, born in 1961. Moved to Dolgy Post, St Irvine, in 1964 when I was 3.
God, that's a lovely name, isn't it?
Dolgy Post. Number 7, Dolgy Post.
Ah, right.
Yeah. So, stayed there until 1970.
Yeah.
And then we moved from Dolgy Post down to Trewinnock. The council house is down at Trewinnock.
Right.
Obviously, there was a bit better council house back then, a bit bigger. You know, it was mum and dad and my brother, and they was a bit more accommodating council houses than the ones that was actually there. So yeah, good old thing, really.
Yeah, I think if I explain to people that don't know, so Dolgy Post is just on the outskirts of Rumford, on the way as if you was going to St Irvine.
That's right. Yeah, just off on the left, the row of houses, which will take you. If you follow the road, it goes back up towards St Eville.
Yeah. So what was mother and father called then?
Well, mother was called Eunice and father was called Bill.
Bill, yeah. And brothers and sisters?
Brother got, I got 2 half brothers.
Yeah.
Morris that lives in Scotland.
Correct.
And Riley, he's now living in Newquay.
Yeah.
And my other brother, Philip, he's living in Condon. Lovely.
So who was your neighbours then back then in Dolgy Post? Can you remember?
Well, George Sowden.
Oh yeah.
He was a good old character. Yeah, he was one of them. And there was Heather and Paul Stevens.
Right. Yeah.
They was the other ones. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Anybody out? Because how many houses is there? Half a dozen?
There's 8 actually in the road at Dolby.
Right.
Yeah, and there was 8 at Trewinnock as well. Yeah.
Oh, there was.
Yeah.
And then Trewinnock is just the other side of Rumford, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah. The lane actually starts down the bottom where the old Sunday school was. And then it goes up past Sandry's garage, where the blockyard used to be, and the row of houses there is on the left-hand side. There's new houses now on the right, which recently been built. There was a row of fir trees there when I lived there. Real old style fir trees. Yeah.
So Rumford back in the days, I mean, there was a chapel.
Yeah.
The olds, were they there then with the garage? Or
the olds were there with the garage, yeah. People that used to work in the garage then, there was old Tom Powell, which was a old style blacksmith, true and true. You know, he used to tend the forge, he could make things, whatever. I've seen him make farm equipment, he'd be there all day with the forge going, and an anvil beating metal, and wonderful person to watch, Used to smoke his pipe. And there was a chap there, he worked in the office, Garfield Lobb.
Right.
I think he originally came from Weybridge. He worked there. Wonderful. You could get most things there, sort of nails, screws, all sorts of things, and Yeah, wonderful old place. Yeah.
Was there a shop or anything there?
Yeah, there was a shop.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
Yeah. Mr. and Mrs. Raby had the shop.
Yeah.
Now, their grandson actually, I think, still lives in the village.
Right.
Nick Fisher.
Yes.
Yeah. I think Nick's still in the village. From what I haven't seen Nick for years.
No.
But yeah.
So would that be groceries and all, or no?
Yeah. That was the local village shop. Yeah, you go in there and you get everything in the shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was back in the early days. Yeah.
So where was your school to then?
The school that was at St Irvine County Primary School. Now, if you went from Rumford towards Penrose, turned off, and obviously headed for St Irvine Church.
Yeah.
Down the lane.
Yeah.
Just before you got to the church.
Yeah.
The school used to be on the right hand side.
Oh, lovely, impressive building.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, real. Yeah.
Ah, I never realised that.
Yeah, wonderful. A little bit further, well, just adjoining the school. Was the old farm where Harry and Mary Stroman used to farm.
Oh,
yeah. Wonderful. Yeah. And Mary used to do the wonderfulest cream.
Did she?
Yeah, true. Oh. Yeah, more or less straight from the cow. Yeah. Straight in, do the process on the cream. If you wanted a quarter of cream, Dave, that was the place to go for your cream. Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah.
Was it a big school? I mean, classes? Or?
There was 2 teachers.
Right.
Yeah. Mrs. Lydia Stroman.
Right.
And Mrs. Dorothy Bennett. Both lived locally.
Yeah.
Now, Mrs. Stroman, she lived in the bungalow top of the road from the school.
Yeah.
Mrs. Bennett lived just, within a stone's throw, really. Just the top of Rumford, basically. Yeah. Where the old telephone exchange used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you remember any of your classmates then, or no?
Yeah, it was Nigel Carrart, John Gregor, Wendy Greganvan, Shirley Deacon, Michael Deacon, loads of them. Yeah, good old locals. Yeah, good old lot of us. Yeah.
Did he go home for dinner or what?
No. Mother was a dinner lady.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, mother used to always. I think dinners used to come in from Padstow. Padstow School used to cook the dinners, and obviously I used to send them every day. Mother was a dinner lady. And we always used to have our dinner. Yeah.
Brilliant. So, would you have to go like chapel in Rumford or church in St Irvine then on a Sunday, or neither?
Well, there was a church in St Irvine, and the chapel was in Rumford.
Yeah.
And there was a Sunday school in Rumford. And the Sunday school, obviously, that's been built up now. That was next to Old's Garage.
Oh yeah.
That was the Sunday school. That big building that's there. I know.
Yeah. So you went to school there till you was what, 11?
Till I was 10.
10, right?
Because the school was then closing.
Oh.
Obviously, it was generations grew on, and obviously there weren't enough kids to keep the school open and that.
Yeah.
So obviously then they decided they wanted to close the school. So I had one more year really in infant school before I went Weybridge Comprehensive School.
Yeah.
So I did 1 year then at Weybridge Boys School.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. So I went off to Weybridge Boys School, and Nigel Carrart, he joined me. He went as well. Yeah.
Cool. Weird, just to go for 1 year.
1 year. Yeah. So we had to go there for 1 year. And when we was there, we had to walk across the bridge then for our dinner.
Yeah.
Over the girls' school, which was opposite Orkey's Garage in Weybridge.
And then comprehensive.
Yeah, Weybridge Comprehensive. Yeah. Started there in 1972.
Right.
That's it. Yeah.
So who was your headmaster then?
There was Mr. Dobson.
Yeah.
Now he was a stickler, Mr. Dobson.
Was he?
Yeah. Him and his wife. Yeah, there was no pulling wool over Mr. Dobson's eyes,
No.
He used to go around, he'd chase the cleaners, he'd put his hand on top of the door, wipe the top of the door. If the door was dirty,
get away.
He'd be after the cleaners. That's how good yeah.
Tip top.
Yeah, he was a tip top man. Yeah.
Very strict, I would imagine.
Yeah, very strict. Yeah, back in those days. Yeah. Brother was head boy.
Oh, was he
in
really?
the 5th year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good. So what did he do for entertainment then when you was growing up round Doggy Post?
Well, we used to make pretty much our own entertainment. Now we had there was obviously the little wooded bit that we used to go down and play in, which they called the Leat.
Right.
So on the outskirts of Rumford, if you coming out of the hill of Rumford village, going towards Rumford Crossroads, on the left-hand side there's a little cut through. You used to walk down the lane there, which would take you down in. It was like a little open gesture, and really through the fields and whatnot. A little walkway, which brought you down underneath the church, and basically Millenworth Mill.
Right.
So we used to go in there and play in the trees and carve our names in the trees and whatnot, hide away in the gorse bushes and make our own fun, basically, you know. Good old years, you know, really. There was a couple that lived in Millenworth Mill. They had a couple of kids, Andy and Tess. You know, they was very good. A nice couple. Yeah.
So then you left school 16? Or?
Yeah, I left at 16. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But prior to that, I had weekend jobs. I had a little weekend job. I think I started that when I was about 11 or 12. I worked St Callum Cycles.
Right.
St Callum Major there in the town.
Who owned that then?
That was owned by John and June Martin.
All right, yeah.
Lovely man to work for. Super. Like a father to me, Davey was.
Yeah.
Really, really. Couldn't wish for a better chap, you know.
So you used to cycle there, did you?
Used to cycle there from Rumford, yeah. Used to either go Winner's Perch way, or through Denzil, lower Denzil, you know, through Denzil and Whitewater, and in that way, yeah. I had a bit of a racing bike, yeah.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, it was all right, yeah. And then, of course, working in the bike shop, you always see something better than you got, don't you?
Yeah.
So, you know, that I've seen this lovely metallic green racing bike that I had, you know, set my eyes on, and of course, Mother and I never had that much money to buy me anything then. So I come home and told Mother. Mother said, "Well, if you want, you better start working and earning all you can to buy." So I said to June, I said, I can't afford them right away, but I said, can you put them back for me? And when I'm affording, can I buy? And she said, of course I'll put them back for you. So she put this bike back. So it was a handsome bike, really lightweight, you know, aluminium frame and nice little thin wheels and whatnot, you know, really, really nice. And state of the art job back then, you know.
Was the gears then on the tube going down?
On the tube going down, yeah.
I never used that. Was they easy to use then or no?
Yeah, as long as you kept pedalling and that, you was okay, you know. But and you know, you just had to keep going, and that was it, really. You know? I love that bike. He was a handsome bike. Yeah, I was clocked doing 40 mile an hour, you know, coming down Irish Ribbon. Yeah. Poor old Sid Orr. Lived over Islands. He was a lovely old chap. He clocked me doing 40 mile an hour. And he was lovely old boy.
So what was your job there? And fixing bikes or odd jobs?
Fixing bikes and bits and pieces, really. He sort of started me off on doing mechanical stuff, and basically, you know, and you know, learning this and learning that, and I soon picked it up, you know. But it was like back in those days, you know, you had to repair most things. People was bringing bikes in, and you know, they dig them out the sheds, a bit like they do now, I suppose, you know. And the brakes needed doing, and cables and stuff like that, you know. It was like run of the mill stuff, you know. But very, very limited the space there, Dave.
Oh, was it?
It was only a little bit of a. Well, it was more like, you could more or less say it was like a little room under the stairs then, basically, because it was like an upstairs to the town hall. I think the Conservative Club was up over there. Yeah. And it was quite an interesting little place, but not a lot of room. Obviously, there was we had a lot of bikes and stuff in there, and obviously he was selling bikes, so there was bikes to sell. And we were selling fishing gear as well there,
I see,
yeah, for the sea anglers and whatnot. And
So that was under the town hall?
That was under the town hall, yeah. Yeah. And if push come to shove, you had to work outside, you had to work on the pavement. And back then, see, they was like people in St. Callum was obviously they was looking to have a bypass built.
Yeah,
exactly. This was like, early 70s then, when they needed the bypass done, because obviously the amount of traffic, summertime, the place would be gridlocked, Yeah. So
it was a thriving town, wasn't it?
It was a thriving town, there was a lot of lovely shops in St. Callum,
Yeah.
Yeah, real old market town,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was holiday job from 11 then till
I was
left school,
16, yeah.
Right, yeah.
I had a bit of a paper round I used to do on Sundays as well.
Oh, right.
Used to leave home about 8 o'clock. Rob Lay up Lanes, he used to pick me up. We had a bit of a paper round. We used to do St. Mirren. I used to walk around St. Mirren, with first thing you had to go sort the papers. That was the job. But you I had my bag on my back, and you knew your route. I used to go around all around Donkey Park and all around.
Oh yeah.
Bit of most of St. Mirren there, dropping off papers and whatnot, and then he used to pick me up, and we used to go down Orlin Road and Orlin, right down to Orlin the beach, and back up, and then we used to do the other half of St. Mirren, then what I call the lower half, which was down past St. Mirren School, heading towards Treemburn.
Yeah.
Porthcothan, top of Porthcothan, right back to Penrose.
Quite a
Penrose and Rumford Village, and we'd end up on St. Mirren Holiday Village. Lovely. Yeah, so there wasn't that many on St. Mirren Holiday Village, but normally by about 12:30, you was done. So, but it was a few extra quid back then, Dave. On a Sunday morning to do your paper round. So, but.
And a lot of people had papers.
A lot of papers. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
So then, where was your first job to a proper job?
Well, when I was at school, 1976, school was alright, but there was certain lessons that I didn't really. Music wasn't one of my greatest things, and music teacher, she wasn't the best either. I don't think, So. I didn't go pile on her, and she didn't go pile on me. I think that was about the truth of it. So, anyway, I had a word with Mr. Orman, the deputy headmaster.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Orman was a lovely man.
Yeah.
So he said, "Now, what's the matter, Chris?" I said, "Well, this music, like, I ain't fond of this." I said, "I'd like to be doing something different." He said, "Well, what would you like to be doing?" I said, "Something a bit more constructive, bit of hands-on." I said, "I ain't into this old music stuff." So. He said, "Well, what do you want to do when you leave school?" I said, "Well, I want to go into the motor trade, really." "You leave it with me," he said, "and I'll see what I can do." Well, he had some mates.
Right.
So, anyway, he got back to me. He was a perfect gentleman. He got back, he said, "I've got the ideal opportunity for you," he said, "when you have your music lessons." He said, Don't let me down. He said, "I've got a job for you," he said, "and these people are prepared to have you in the afternoon." He said, "You can go there all afternoon."
Get away.
He said, "This is Broad and Gibson's up on Trinant Industrial Estate." Now, they were Ford and Honda agents.
Right.
So he said, "You mustn't let me down." He said, "And you go and you behave yourself. You won't be paid nothing." But he said, "You'll have the experience of the garage trade." So anyway, that was okay. So off I tootled. He said, "You know your way. You'll get up on the industrial sets." Walked up from the school. That was ideal. Lovely. So went in there. Yeah. and different chalk and cheese, Dave. You know, really, yeah.
Was that a big garage?
It was quite a big industrial unit. Yeah. They used to do all sorts. You know, there was two brothers, Mike and Jimmy Broad, and this brother-in-law, Gibson. Like, you know, so that was the three partners. You know.
Yeah.
But we was preparing cars and whatnot. You know, it's bringing cars down from up the line, and we was doing paint work and whatnot. I used to help them mask them all up, and got into doing a bit of sanding and whatnot, you know, and that, and pretty much pretty hands on, like, you know.
Yeah.
So that was 1976, and I was doing that leading up to leaving school.
Who would he work with? Anybody else, or who did he work with?
It was Pete Hammett. Pete's a bit P&H Motors now in Weybridge.
That's right.
Pete was there, and Paul Kent. Now Paul's no longer with us, but you know, they was two good old boys, you know, and we had a lovely old time, and you know, Pete was sort of hands on with me, you know, and he was getting stuff ready for Mike, the boss, the paint and whatnot, and then Pete eventually got round to painting as well, you know, and that was it. So we was pretty much a pretty good little team there, really, you know.
Did they sell the cars then?
Yeah, they were selling. Yeah, they would sell from the forecourt there as well. Like, yeah.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Chris. That was proper, and we'll have our second part from Chris next week. I thought for me Cornish word of the week, we'll do Otterum, seeing we was up there today. Now, this is fairly straightforward, I think, because Otterum is near the head of the River Ottery, and Ham, well, that means like river meadow or enclosed land. So that's pretty much, I would reckon, where it comes from, is Otterum, Otterham. So I think that's what I'll have this week. My Cornish dialect is a word that I don't hear very often. I love it. It is the word vamp, V-A-M-P. So if you've got you're drinking your tea and you've got a half-empty cup of tea and somebody will say, here, I'll top them up. What they'd say was, shall I vamp up your cup? Shall I vamp up your cup? Meaning you're filling up again. So there we go. I used to like it, actually, when you was in the pub and it was getting near the end of the evening and they called last orders. You would drink down, so you had about a quarter of a pint left. And you'd say to the barman, here, put a half in there. And you'd hope they'd put a Cornish half in, which would pretty much fill the pint up. So you'd get like 3/4 of a pint for the price of a half. So we used to call it a Cornish half. That was back in me drinking days. But I don't drink no more. So there we go. Right, well, I'll leave you there now. I hope you have a good week. Speak to you again next week. Wish you well. Do Guinness. Curno Bisfican.